If your dog takes your seat, they're trying to tell you this. You get up to grab a glass of water. 30 seconds later, you come back to find your dog curled up exactly where you were sitting. Your spot on the couch, your side of the bed, the chair you were just using at the kitchen table. You laugh, maybe nudge them over and think nothing more of it. But your dog has just done something far more deliberate than it looks. Most people assume this is about comfort. The seat is warm, the dog is lazy, end of story. Scientists who study canine behavior suggest something far more layered is going on. Something rooted in scent, social bonding, and a communication system dogs have been running for thousands of years. One that has almost nothing to do with furniture and everything to do with you. By the end of this, you won't just understand why your dog does this. You'll start noticing it everywhere, and you'll never look at moving the dog off your seat the same way again. Why this behavior matters. It's easy to dismiss seat stealing as a quirky habit, the kind of thing dog owners joke about online. But behaviorists who study human-dog relationships argue that small, repeated moments like this are actually where most of the real communication happens. Dogs don't have language. They don't get to sit us down and explain how they feel about us. Instead, they communicate through positioning, timing, and proximity. And taking your seat is one of the clearest examples of that system in action. Here's the misconception that trips up almost every dog owner. We tend to interpret dog behavior through a human lens. If a person took your seat the moment you stood up, you'd probably read it as slightly rude, maybe a little territorial. So owners often assume their dog is either being cheeky, asserting dominance, or just being a furniture hog. Researchers who study dog cognition have spent decades pushing back against that framing. The seat isn't the point. What matters to your dog is what the seat is soaked in, and that changes the entire meaning of the behavior. Understanding this isn't just a fun fact. It reshapes how you interpret dozens of small daily behaviors, where your dog chooses to nap, why they follow you room to room, why they seem anxious when you leave a jacket somewhere new. Once you understand the seat behavior, you're really learning to read an entire language. There's another reason this matters, one that has less to do with your dog and more to do with you. Owners who understand the actual mechanics behind a behavior tend to respond to it more calmly and more consistently. Confusion breeds frustration. You nudge the dog off the couch a little more sharply than you meant to, or you half joke about your dog being bossy, and over time, those small moments of misreading can quietly add friction to an otherwise easy relationship. Once you know what's actually driving the behavior, the response gets easier because you're no longer guessing. The science. To understand why your dog wants your seat, you have to understand how differently they experience the world. Humans are visual creatures first. Dogs are olfactory creatures first. Their sense of smell is estimated by researchers to be tens of thousands of times more sensitive than ours, and a huge portion of their brain is dedicated to processing scent information. Where you see the couch, your dog reads a dense, constantly updating record of information. Who sat here, how long ago, what mood they might have been in, what they ate, even subtle chemical shifts tied to stress or relaxation. When you stand up and your dog immediately moves into that spot, they're not walking into empty space. They're walking into the freshest, most concentrated version of your scent available anywhere in the house. This connects to something researchers in canine cognition have studied extensively. Dogs form attachment bonds with their primary caregivers that closely resemble the attachment bonds seen between human infants and parents. Work coming out of comparative psychology labs, including well-known research from the Family Dog Project in Budapest, has shown that dogs use their owners as a secure base, a stable point of reference they return to for comfort and reassurance, much like a toddler checks back with a parent in an unfamiliar room. Scent is how dogs carry that secure base with them even when you're not physically there. Behavioral researchers have documented that dogs seek out and rest on items carrying an owner's scent more than neutral objects. and that this kind of sense-seeking tends to increase during moments of mild stress or separation. In other words, for many dogs, resting where your body just was isn't a random habit. It's a way of self-soothing using the most powerful tool available to them, you in scent form. There's also a hormonal layer to this that researchers have only started mapping in detail over the last couple of decades. Studies on the relationship between dogs and their owners, including well-publicized work out of Japan examining gaze-based interaction, have found that mutual eye contact and close physical proximity between dogs and their owners are associated with rises in oxytocin, sometimes nicknamed the bonding hormone because of its role in parent-infant attachment across mammal species. Physical closeness, including resting somewhere saturated in your scent, may function as a low-effort way for your dog to trigger some of that same biochemical comfort even when you've stepped out of the room. But that's only part of the story, because scent and hormones alone don't explain everything about this behavior. There's also a strong social component, one that has to do with how dogs read status and safety within a household. What your dog is really communicating. Here's where context becomes everything. Because taking your seat can mean several different things depending on when and how it happens. If your dog waits until you get up and then immediately claims the spot, still warm, this is very often about closeness and comfort seeking. They're not trying to occupy your position of authority. They're gravitating toward the concentrated presence of you, your warmth, your scent, the residual sense of safety that spot now holds. If your dog tries to squeeze into the seat while you're still in it, angling for space rather than waiting for you to leave, that's typically a different signal entirely. This is proximity-seeking behavior, closely tied to attachment and trust. Dogs that feel secure with their humans often want as much physical contact as possible, and many will treat your lap and the 6 inches next to your hip as functionally the same target. And if your dog claims a seat specifically when a stranger enters the house or during moments of household tension, that behavior can look similar on the surface, but carries an entirely different emotional undertone, closer to seeking a secure, familiar-smelling space during uncertainty rather than affection-driven closeness. This is the piece most owners miss. The behavior is not one signal. It's a shared physical action with several possible emotional translations, and the only way to know which one you're seeing is to watch the timing and the emotional context surrounding it. A dog that steals your seat 5 minutes after guests leave is telling a very different story than a dog that steals it every single evening at 8 p.m. like clockwork. There's a body language layer worth watching too, because it often confirms which version of the behavior you're looking at before you even think about timing. A dog that circles once, sighs, and settles with loose, relaxed muscles is almost certainly in comfort-seeking mode. A dog that climbs into the seat with tense shoulders, a lowered tail, or repeated glancing toward a door or window is more likely in a mild stress response, using the spot as a security blanket rather than a cozy nap spot. The seat is the same. The dog inside it is telling you two completely different stories. We'll come back to how to actually tell these apart in a moment. First, it's worth clearing up what this behavior is almost certainly not. Common myths. Myth number 1, my dog is trying to dominate me by taking my chair. This idea traces back to outdated dominance hierarchy models of dog behavior, largely based on early, now widely criticized studies of captive wolf packs. Modern behavioral science has moved away from this framework almost entirely. Contemporary research on dog social structure suggests their relationships with humans are shaped far more by attachment, learned association, and cooperative bonding than by rank competition. A dog sitting in your chair is not staging a coup. They're pursuing comfort and connection, not status. Myth number 2, dogs do this out of spite because they're annoyed with you. Spite requires a level of abstract reasoning about intention and retribution that current research doesn't support in dogs. What often looks like spite, chewing a shoe after being left alone, for example, is far more consistently explained by anxiety, boredom, or sense-seeking behavior than by a deliberate emotional grudge. Seat stealing fits this same pattern. It's not retaliation, it's regulation. Myth number 3, it just means the seat is warm and comfortable. Nothing more. This one isn't wrong exactly, it's incomplete. Warmth genuinely is a factor dogs respond to. But if temperature were the whole explanation, dogs would show equal interest in any warm surface, including a heating vent or a sun patch on the floor. Behavioral observation studies consistently show a strong preference specifically for owner-associated surfaces over other equally warm, equally soft alternatives. That preference gap is where the scent and attachment explanation earns its place. The evidence here is fairly consistent, though researchers note that the exact weighting of comfort versus scent versus attachment likely varies by individual dog, and more controlled research is still needed to fully separate these overlapping motivations. What you should do. None of this means you need to give up your seat forever, and it doesn't mean the behavior needs fixing. What it means is that you can respond in a way that actually communicates with your dog instead of just managing furniture. Watch the pattern, not just the moment. Notice when the seat stealing happens. Right after you leave the room? Probably comfort-seeking. During a thunderstorm or a visit from a repair person? Likely anxiety-related. Every single evening at a consistent time? That's often a learned routine tied to your own schedule, not an emotional signal at all. Avoid punishing the behavior itself. Since this is rooted in attachment and self-soothing rather than defiance, scolding a dog for taking your seat can create confusion rather than correction. If you need the seat back, a simple cue paired with a reward, asking for a place or off, and rewarding compliance, teaches the behavior you want without treating a bonding instinct as bad behavior. Give your scent intentionally. If your dog seems to seek out your presence through scent, especially during moments you're away, a worn t-shirt or blanket in their resting area can serve the same soothing function the stolen seat provides, without the nightly negotiation over the couch. Watch for anxiety-flavored versions of the behavior. If seat stealing is paired with pacing, whining, excessive panting, or only shows up during stressful events, that's worth paying attention to as a possible sign of situational anxiety rather than simple affection, and may be worth mentioning to a veterinarian or certified trainer if it's frequent. Let some of it just be connection. Not every behavior needs a management plan. If your dog steals your seat because being near your scent makes them feel safe, that's not a problem to solve. That's a relationship working exactly the way it's supposed to. Rotate what carries your scent. If you share a household with multiple pets or family members, it can help to notice whether your dog gravitates toward everyone's spots equally or shows a clear preference for one person. That preference isn't favoritism in the way people sometimes joke about it. It's a fairly direct readout of who your dog currently considers their primary attachment figure, and it can shift over time as routines, caregiving responsibilities, or life circumstances change within the household. Surprising facts and real-life examples. Wolves' dogs' closest living relatives show a related but distinct behavior. Pack members will often rest in spots recently used by others, particularly higher affiliation individuals, as a way of reinforcing social bonds within the group. Researchers studying canine social structures see echoes of this same instinct in domestic dogs, just redirected almost entirely toward humans instead of other dogs, a byproduct of thousands of years of domestication reshaping who dogs consider their primary social unit. There's also a striking asymmetry many owners notice without realizing why. Dogs are often far more interested in a spot you just left than one a stranger just left. This tracks with attachment research showing dogs process the scent of a familiar, bonded human differently than the scent of an unfamiliar person, treating the two as categorically different kinds of information rather than just human smell, generic. And here's a detail that surprises a lot of people. Some dogs show a preference not just for where you sat, but for objects that were in direct contact with your skin over objects merely near you. Your worn sweater over the couch cushion next to it, for instance. It's a small distinction, but it reinforces the same underlying idea. This isn't about furniture. It's about you, translated into a form your dog can hold on to. Owners of multi-dog households sometimes notice an even more telling pattern. When one dog leaves a favorite spot, a second dog in the home will often move into it within seconds, almost as if the position itself carries value. Researchers who study social behavior in group-living canines suggest this reflects a broader pattern where physical space becomes a kind of shared social currency. Proximity to a resource, a person, or even a recently vacated spot can briefly signal something meaningful within the group's social fabric, long after the original occupant has walked away. Final takeaway. The seat was never really the point. Every time your dog curls into the spot you just left, they're doing what dogs have done with their humans for thousands of years, using the tools available to them: scent, warmth, memory, to stay close to the person they're bonded to, even in the moments you're not physically there. It's not defiance, it's not dominance. It's not even really about the chair at all. It's a small, quiet form of communication happening dozens of times a day, mostly unnoticed, right in your own living room. The more we understand our dogs, the less mysterious their behavior becomes, and the stronger the bond we build with them.